we continue for the second panel that will lead by Miss Elmi. Miss Elmi, the time is yours.
Yes. Okay, I thank you, Mr. Anthony, for your great sharing. Also, Miss Fon, because she has to attend another meeting, so she had to left first. I like to say hello to Mr. Farhan, Mrs. Mushida, and Pa Alpano is here, right? Okay, Pa Alpano, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Farhan. Okay, Sis Mushida. Okay, thank you very much. We welcome all of you to the second panel discussion that we'll be talking about how we are going to dig more about how we can collaborate in mapping a new way of collaboration among the local community in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. So the reason that why we invited Mr. Farhan, Mr. Mushida, Pak Alpano at this panel discussion, because three of them actually has been working closely in cross-border, either in a government context or academician collaboration as well. And Sis Mushida also do a lot of collaboration among the ASEAN countries as well. So we will just give the time for each panelist sharing about 10 minutes. And we will, the first round, I will go to Mr. Farhan first. You can share your insight about how you do the collaboration so far in social or business perspective. Okay, yeah, the time is.
Thank you, Ibu Elmi. Thank you.
Yeah, most welcome.
Okay, let me just sorry. Okay, let me just begin. Okay, yeah. So very good afternoon to everybody. Yeah. So don't mind if I begin. So yeah. So thanks to Ibu Elmi for inviting. When I was given this topic, I was quite surprised because it is not an easy topic to address. Basically, I think we do understand that when we do collaboration has always been face to face, right? And to some extent, so I do strongly agree with the speakers from the previous segment. People connection is very important, and for us who do business, not just cross-border business, but business anywhere, even in your own country, you realize that if you just started your business, your first 10 connections, your first 10 clients are basically your friends and family, right? It's normal, and if you continue your business, your friend's friend will still be your clients. It's called referral, through referrals and so on. So I think that's where business connections become very integral. So how do we build relationships? And I use the word build. How do we build relationships or get relationships in a situation where we cannot meet face to face, right? So before I go there, let me share a little bit about my organization, and after that, the second half, I will talk a little bit more about the topic. Okay. So I'm Farhan Firdaus, partner and head venture building. I am in the business of innovation, right? So I recently just updated this slide. I was 33 years old, and then I just became 34, so I needed to update. Yeah. So what I do is my experience the last 6 to 7 years has been in the, I would say, the startup and the tech industry. I've held different roles. I was in Singapore. I was helping to administer the social enterprise space, and then after that, for 2.5 years, I jumped into. For those of you who are familiar with startups, I jumped into one of the bigger startup categories called Series B or Series B, right? So Series B is considered very fast growth. I had very little sleep at that time. So for 2.5 years. And then after that, so I was in the healthcare industry focusing on dentistry. So I was working very closely with investors from London. So again, it's a fast moving startup. And then after that, I got interested with the investment world because I work very closely with investors, venture capital, private equity. So I then left and then joined I would say, agriculture investment firm focusing on ASEAN, right? So very much a lot of our investments were in Cambodia, in Indonesia, in Cambodia, Indonesia, Singapore, yeah, Malaysia, yeah, so on. And so yeah, so I think after that I did my postgraduate studies, did my masters in technopreneurship and innovation, which is an area that I specialize now, and I started to run my own firm. So yeah, so I will quickly share what we do, but that's what I'm doing now. I'm a partner at Meet Ventures, and basically outside of work, I am an advisory board member of the Ministry of Education. So in Bahasa Indonesia, Kementerian of Pendidikan, I think, yeah, yes. So I focus on polytechnic and vocational studies review, and I'm also a board member of the business school at Singapore Polytechnic. So if there's anything on education that you'd like to collaborate, used to collaborate, yeah, let me know. We'll see what we can do. So I've also started a Youth Entrepreneurs Association while I was studying because I felt that there was a gap in Singapore. So we had a lot of, so there was a gap in Singapore and also in ASEAN I would say there are a lot of business chambers, like for example, like Kadin and so on in Indonesia, and then Malaysia has its own as well. Singapore has its own. But the problem is that in all these various business associations, the existing ones were not able to understand the like startup world. They don't understand the technology world. So that was the challenge. So I started Epic Entrepreneurs Network, which is affiliated to the People's Association in Singapore, a statutory board. So yeah, so basically we cultivate, it's just a community of friends, and we communicate via WhatsApp, especially now with COVID, via WhatsApp, and we also have a Facebook group, and we share opportunities, for entrepreneurs in 4 communities, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines. Yeah. Okay, so a little bit about Meet Ventures. As I mentioned, I'm in the business of innovation. We do 3 things primarily, mainly innovation work for multinational corporations. I would say a lot of it, we specialize in running accelerators, incubators, and also corporate investment programs for MNCs. So if MNCs want specialized help, they will approach us. So that's what we do. And we also run entrepreneurship education programs for universities. Sometimes professors will outsource to us to run as well. So we are doing a program at the moment for NUS. Right. So yeah, so just a little bit about us. Our existing clients come from, so mainly, I guess why Ibu Elmi invited me as well, also because a lot of my clients are from foreign countries, right? So these are my paying clients. They come from South Korea, Japan, China, and the Middle East. But of course, through my work with the corporate MNCs and also with governments from overseas, I help the startup community in the Asian in ASEAN, right? So in a way, I'm also like a bridge. I connect opportunities from governments and MNCs to startups, and my startups mainly come from ASEAN. We focus on that. So I think the question that could come is, how do I cope, right? So especially most of my customers. So I think generally, I would say, we use online meeting tools to make the business collaboration work, right? To string things together. I think no choice lah, yeah. Tidak ada cara lain, yeah. There's no other way. So, but I must say this, and to be honest, I think we have used Zoom and all the other online tools as communication But at the end of the day, when we want to confirm big deal, right? I think I still notice that it is still a requirement for some of these decision makers to fly down. Yeah, so this is my from what I see. So to communicate, it's still okay. But when we confirm a deal, like I just hosted my client from Japan. So Singapore and Japan has got a what do you call it, like a green lane. Yeah, so we just spoke with them to seal a deal for next year. Yeah, thankfully, and because of that, and through that, our client actually came down to discuss more opportunities. Yeah. So so this is just a little bit about what we do, right? So yeah, so in terms of startups, we have built startups from pre-seed all the way to Series B, ASEAN plus Korea, Japan, China, and so on. So these are just some of the startups that we've invested in. One in the Philippines, Ingno is from Singapore. This is so we talk about communication tools, right? So this startup that I have invested in, Meet Ventures has invested in, called Ingno, is very popular in Indonesia schools, also in Singapore and some other regions as well. Because so we talk about online platform, they created a e-learning platform to help guru teachers to teach effectively. Yeah, using Microsoft and other tools. So the teachers felt that it was very, very useful. So Ingno is growing, and I'm also helping them to penetrate to Middle East. Hopefully, we'll start with Oman, right? So yeah, so these are some of the things. So I think let's go to the topic very quickly. I think my personal experience with cross-border work. I think all in all, I have had more experiences with Malaysia and Indonesia. Maybe because of the geographical proximity, because of it's nearer, right? Also because my understanding of the cultures. So of course, by having said that, I do travel also, like many of us esteemed guests and speakers here, to Brunei, Thailand, Cambodia, and so on. Papua New Guinea is one of the more exotic places I like to visit from time to time. But yeah, so very interesting. But most of my experience is mainly in Malaysia, Indonesia. So the question is, how do you cope with this, right? So I think my position is that the situation of collaboration before COVID-19. Before COVID-19, I think, especially for our experienced business person in this chat group who have, I'm sure we all have faced situasi atau situation that we go to the country, meet the people, talk a bit. At the end of the day, we ask ourselves when we fly back to our country, what did I achieve? I'm sure there are situations like that, right? Not very effective, right? Maybe there's some miscommunication along the way. I would say, sometimes when we run companies, our staff would fly down. If we don't fly down, they fly down to manage. They go down all the way just to talk or discuss with the staff overseas. And also I think the collaboration. But having said that, I would say that how collaboration was done previously before COVID is that we would have business associations organizing trade missions. I miss this, by the way. Government leading trade missions, yeah. Government to government, and then sometimes you have some maybe menteri atau some level of political representation. And then I would say personally, even like for me, I would personally go down to cities to find business opportunities. Actually, like what the previous speaker said, correct. The business opportunities come from the people, right? And how do they find you? Are you jujur atau tidak, right? Are you trustworthy? Do you have integrity? Are you nice? Are you like, I scratch your back, you scratch my back? Are you like that? So I think it comes with people connection, and I fully agree with the speakers just now. But however, due to COVID-19, all of it has stopped. So instead of us, okay, so this is my point of view, yeah. I feel that COVID-19, from March all the way to now, many of us, instead of farming new business opportunities, farming as in going out to find new business opportunities, new contacts, I think we still do online. But my point of view, right, is that through networking events like this online, it's a little bit difficult actually to network, right? unless we have our trusted friends who recommend somebody, then I think it's okay. But I would say that probably from March to December, for those of us who are in business, I think, and that is myself included, I have spent a lot of time deepening my relations with existing contacts. That means those that I already know previously when I could meet them, I used the 9 months to basically deepen. So instead of going this way, right, we go deeper. So I think this is one strategy. Yeah. Also, I think with regards to that, I think today any travel to a country is for serious business dealings, right? And not like last time we would go there just to talk. But now is that I already talked to you many times on Zoom. When I go down to meet you, it's more of like confirmation or to tweak a few things and also to formalize. And I would say there are other ways to collaborate. And we collaborate with one another to achieve sales in each other's countries. I think this is one I'm seeing, whereby so basically it's like, for example, if I'm in consulting, I will collaborate with other people in consulting in other countries. Say Indonesia, I know someone. Malaysia, I know someone. So what happens is we could work together. So on a project that could be cross-border. So if let's say in Indonesia there appears to be one inquiry from a company, and that big company wants to do projects in Malaysia or Singapore, it will give them confidence because the team is comprised of these 3 countries. So this is one way. And of course another thing is that I think what we have done personally for me, I've also shared investment opportunities, corporate collaborations, networking opportunities to founders from Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia. So this continues despite COVID-19. So we do it online, and also I would say that one of the good things is that previously there seems to be a barrier, right? For example, when there are seminars, there seems to be a barrier to invite our counterparts from other countries. But due to now the proliferation of this connectivity, I think that's the good thing. We see more representation of friends from the region. So when we have webinars nowadays, it's easier for us to invite our friends from abroad if they would like to join. And some people they like that. They don't want to travel all the way to the country. Maybe they don't have time. And I would say that hiring employees is something that I do as well. I do it with cross-border, so I go through maybe some intermediaries, to maybe, so I outsource some of my work, for example, or I appoint this company to give me manpower to work on projects. So I think we're seeing a little bit more of that as well. Yeah, so I think for me, I still continue to support the Malaysia and Indonesia startup ecosystem, but via online, right? So I think I'm coming to the end. I think with regards to via online, I think this is online meetings is an additional platform for communication. It is the new way. But I think the challenges, as I mentioned, the challenges is that there is still a strong need for face-to-face interaction, but maybe face-to-face interaction is for bigger projects, maybe like to sebagai konfirmasi, as a confirmation, or to formalize a partnership. The startup and SME who cannot overcome this will lose the opportunity for collaboration. This is true. And for cross-border collaboration to happen without seeing each other, I would say, the high probability of happening with existing connections. So I think, as I mentioned just now, and I think we tend to go deeper nowadays instead of wider. So we use online platforms to build, to continue to cultivate our relationship with friends that we already know, right? And maybe to a smaller extent, we get to know new people. But I would say, I'm not saying that I'm against it, but so what I try to do, if I get to know friends, for example, from today, I will try, after this, I maybe will go to LinkedIn and say hello, but then we still have to find an opportunity after that to build that relationship. So which is sometimes a little bit difficult. So I saw you at a conference, I reached out to you on LinkedIn. how do we build that personal connection that you feel that you trust me and I trust you? So I think that is probably one thing we need to answer. And I would say that this collaboration would be more possible in our friends from from different cities. But when it comes to when it comes to rural places, so for example, if you are trying to connect with somebody from maybe Jawa Tengah, right, in a place like Purwokerto, for example, that's very difficult. It's 6 hours from Jakarta, 2 hours on the trishaw, and then the connectivity of internet is difficult. So I think these are some challenges. Tapi kalau via the city to city, I think it's fine. Okay, so yeah, so that's just a short sharing from me. Keep in touch. I'm Fahan Firdaus, signing out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know so well Indonesia, you know Purwokerto. Oh my God. That's amazing. That is one of the challenges that we are going to pass on to the discussion, that how we are going to fill the gap, because as you know, the Indonesia is so wide that when we are talking about collaboration among Indonesia, is a whole range of the different, even between one city to another city. So that we will do the discussion a bit further. We just proceed to the second panelist first. So Ms. Murshida Said, the time is yours. She's the founder of Love and Respect Transformation. So you have the 10 minutes to do the sharing.
All right. Thank you so much, Elmi, for inviting me. I'm very grateful to be here, and also very privileged to be in this platform and share with all of you. So what I would love to also hear, I hope it's not just one way, because I'd love for this to be a discussion. I'd like for each and every one of you, if you can, put your hands up or post in the chat what COVID period has actually done for you or your business. How has it improved, or certain challenges that you face? So perhaps after my short introduction, we can address that as well. For me, my experience personally, when I experienced COVID, that was in March. Before that, I was traveling a lot. The whole year was planned with at least 5 countries that we were supposed to travel and do offline events. And I was supposed to go to Miami in March, but just before that, I couldn't find the right flight tickets and stuff like that. My daughter's, who's Singaporean, she's supposed to be in Singapore to renew her visa. My husband, who's Malaysian, was supposed to take her to Singapore to renew her passport. And it was about a week before the actual lockdown happened. The planning was done a couple of weeks. Things just didn't work out at one point. And then the announcement that, it's going to happen in this week. So we were like, at that point, I was feeling so grateful. When COVID happened, I was crying for like 3 nights in a row. Not because like my tens and thousands of potential business is gone because of the offline. All my training was canceled overseas, including those in Malaysia. But I felt like we were so close to being separated, and my heart reaches out to the people who were like stuck in Johor and their children stuck in Singapore, and they can only see from with binoculars across the causeway, and that breaks my heart when I see posts like that. And this is also happening to people that I know of, right? So I was that close. So I was feeling deep gratitude when COVID happened, not because of the pandemic or whatever, because we were this close to being separated for months between our family. So when that happened, we had a discussion. We started to focus on what is it that we can currently do, because as a background of my business, I have a One Health One model. For those of you who are not sure what we do, I'm a professional corporate training and coaching company as well. And I coach people mostly offline through events or meetups, or going to their offices, presenting in front of an audience, and a very small percentage of online, that was before. So when COVID happened, I had a discussion with my husband, who's my business partner, and said, look, we got to pivot, we got to do something. And one thing that I'm very grateful about my strength is that I have this ability to turn crisis into opportunity. All my businesses started from a crisis. Something happened and we started with 0 or -0 to creating at least multiple 5-figure, 6-figure businesses. Yeah. So that's the goal that we have already been done in the past, right? So, and we also have a One Help One model. Every training that I do contributes to the training of skill set and mindset of refugees here in Malaysia, with skills, with money mindsets, you know, opening up the minds. And what I realized is a lot of times people, when crises happen, the first thing is they focus on the problems, when the focus should be on what resources we already have. What resources we already have and how to turn that into opportunity and create an economy out of that. And I don't believe an economy is dependent on environment, world environment, pandemic, or economic turmoil or whatever. An economy is demand and supply. An economy is, as long as there are humans, right, there is an economy. You can create an economy as long as a need is met with a service or a product that you can serve. So what is that you already have? So what we have resources like contacts, connections across the world. We listed down who are the people we knew, who we can get connected to. And from my experience, the next day after our meeting, we made calls to people from Canada, people from software development companies that we know who run online apps, connecting people. We connected with our community. We have a handful of friends who are in our community that who are clients, you know, of ours. And then, like Farhan was mentioning just now about going deep and going wide, right? We went both. We went deep and we went wide through online. Yeah, we because of the online platform. And because of COVID, we did a lot of webinars online almost every week, every week, 2 or 3 times lives and all that. And we got more people in our community. And I would say during COVID time, my social impact grew beyond Malaysia. The refugees that we helped, you had a digital marketing class. We also had outreach programs where, you know, people who are the urban poor, they don't even have internet, they don't even have handphone. And I always tell people this, business is, you know, ability to create money is a whole mindset thing. As long as you have a handphone, you have internet, you have a smartphone, and not this kind of phone. Sorry, I have to say which kind of phone. This kind of phone cannot. Yeah, a smartphone, as long as you have a smartphone and you have the internet, you can do online, you can survive, you can thrive during COVID, because that is what we have right now. And I use that, and that is what we train the refugees, you know, to use these tools. And some of them have started online business, opening up Facebook, selling cakes and doing deliveries and all that. But that takes, again, mindset shift, right? So as long as you have an internet, and what do you already have? A handphone that works, and you have some connections, you can start posting. That is how you can create an economy already. And the other thing that we did also was outreach program for food, because we understand that there are people who have no knowledge or skills on internet. They cannot even afford internet access. They don't have, like in Malaysia here, it's called Unify, right? They don't have Unify or TM or whatever. They have no idea at all. They're totally out of touch with the internet world. Their lives are only sustained by physical work, you know, cleaning offices or cleaning homes, stuff like that. So these are the people that we did outreach programs and created communities. And in COVID alone, we didn't just reach out within Malaysia. We reached out to at least 3 states in Malaysia, including Kedah and Kuala Lumpur, and also Johor, and India, a community in India that I work on to start a community model so that nobody goes hungry. Main thing is, I said, get a community within the community. And my work is, I don't talk to everyone because I've done that before. The impact is really, really minimal. I focus on the leaders. Focus the leader, empower the leader. That leader will create changes in their communities, yeah? So we have done that before in the past, where one of our refugees before that we coach and train, he now is a TEDx speaker. He runs a volunteer network. I know if some of you have met him before, you know, he's, I think Zil mentioned about him in some of the past regional connect seminars in Batam, right, when we were there. Yeah, so he is now creating so much changes in his community. We've also empowered one single mom, a Yemeni refugee, She runs her own business now, and she helps so many people in her community. Even the Yemeni ambassador in Malaysia visited her home to thank her personally, to say thank you for helping the other refugees. So this is where I go. Empower the leader, and that's how the other communities can survive. And then we support one another, right? And in COVID times, from March onwards, because of our visibility online and connecting people, inviting experts, and it's a lot easier to invite experts during COVID. You know, we have outreach to over 20 international experts, mentors, celebrities, influencers, to give tips. I just finished one webinar just now. It's called Asian Women Taking on Global Impact. And I've been in COVID alone, which I never thought it could happen to me last year. I was training a group of people in Costa Rica last week, right? I mean, who would know me here based in Malaysia could be giving value to Costa Ricans? And about 2 months ago, I think it was in October, before the US elections, the Tampa City Council in Florida connected with me because of what I've been talking about, love and respect online and all that. They invited me to talk to their community in Tampa just before the elections to remind people of how to have love and respect, so that during Thanksgiving, people will not fight in the families, you know, because of their different political views. So these are things that, you know, these are opportunities that happened during COVID, which before in the past, we always think of, oh, kita sama kita je, you know, we do business. But the world is your oyster right now. The opportunities are widening. Your message, your help can be given even more. Money is everywhere. It is how can you use that resources that you have, knowing the kind of things that people need so that you can serve them better. And this is where I stand, because I say, as long as you have the internet, you have a handphone, you can learn to use that, you know, because that's how I started. You know, if some of you knew my story, I came to Kuala Lumpur with only 2 ringgit. You know, at that time I was deeply broke. My last business failed because of SARS, and I was not ready. Now, because this second pandemic, I'm pandai sikit lah, you know, I'm a bit cleverer now because I learned from what happened in SARS, right? During SARS. So it's like, I came to Kuala Lumpur with only 2 ringgit, and my husband lost his job at that time, but with resources that I didn't even know I had. And what resources did I have at that time? It was database in my computer, sitting there, CEOs in Kuala Lumpur. I didn't even know. So when I used that database to provide as a service to people who want to be connected to CEOs in Kuala Lumpur, I created a business out of that, you know, connecting people. And I found that during this COVID time as well, the technologies are amazing, amazing, amazing. I've done out of, you know, like Malaysia, we just had a second lockdown here in Malaysia. Recently, during the lockdown, I was in 5 different hotels that I got in myself checked in, so that I can be in a quiet place, I can serve my clients better. And I was serving people from Singapore, I was serving people from the US, I was serving people from where was I? Oh, Sabah. That time all of us were shut down, right? So I can only go to the nearest nice hotel, nice environment, quiet, fast internet, and that was what I was doing. And it felt good. It felt joyful. And the people that are in my community right now, we managed to elevate, you know. But of course, I always say you need 2 things, especially in any crisis: competency and attitude, right? Competency as in your skills are there, your knowledge is there, be good at whatever you are doing. If you are good at something, focus on that and really go deep in that expertise. And the other one is your attitude, because you can be so great at something that you are talented with. God has given you that God-given talent. But because of the attitude, because of that, oh, I have a dog-eat-dog mentality, I've got to, you know, destroy others around me just so that I can succeed, that will not survive at all, right? So this is what I do. And, you know, I work around mindsets. I work around helping entrepreneurs right now, business owners, to create a social impact through the business, because I believe businesses are a force of good. Businesses is a form of transformation. Businesses can actually lead to positive transformation in the world. So how can you do that? In your business model, as long as your business grows, you are actually helping at least 3 areas, right? So this is what I do, coaching people who can elevate their business at least to 5-figure, 6-figure monthly income to be able to create good at the same time. As you produce your product, as you give your service, you are actually solving any one of these 3 problems, which is you're cleaning the environment, you are elevating poverty, you are elevating human capital. That means you make people smarter through your business, right? It's not like now what's happening. I mean, not now. 2019 was the last of any business models, yeah, where you just teach people that one thing, they do, and then if that business doesn't work, they have no more skill to do something else, right? So now the new normal business model is, as long as you are having your business, it is cleaning the environment, yeah, it is elevating human capital, human intelligence, and doing good, or like for us, we call it spreading love and respect. And through your business, you are also eliminating poverty. So what problems are you actually solving through your business? And that is how it can be sustainable. And work with people with the same mindset, work with people with the same values, because I've wasted a lot of time working with people with conflicting values as mine. So now my community is very much laser focused, values driven, and the impact that they're going to create. And we do it in a big way. We collaborate with people all over the world. So if you allow me just a little bit of sharing some background of some of the people, I won't go through all of my slides. Yeah, that's our mission. Eradicate poverty. Yeah, we have a One Health, One model. Every training that I do actually benefits low-income homeless or refugees. These are some of the people we work with, like Hassan, who is a Syrian refugee. Now he is he runs this volunteer network. We, through coaching him, he's TEDx speaker. Yusra, Yemeni refugee. Now after she attended my personal branding workshop, she started her business. She was more visible on television, she became more confident, and we managed to raise funds for more people in the community as well, right? So yeah, this is our One Health, One model. Every training actually contributes to something long-term, not just giving food and stuff like that. Of course, anything emergency, people who are hungry, solve that problem first. People with no shelter, solve that problem first. And then what? So the next step is all their responsibility, where we can guide them, but the work must come from them. Yeah. And yeah, so these are some of the success stories in our community for the business owners as well. Just by changing mindsets and focusing on things that they already have, they can create money in 3 days, 3,500, 72,000 for a new business, right? And then cross-border opportunities. This was just before COVID, where UNA organized an International Women's Day event in March and invited our Singaporean ladies in the community. So they managed to grow as well, yeah? And then online, I've got a lady from the US in my community as well, with one of my, the ladies from Singapore. They're creating a new business opportunity together. They call it East Meets West holistic, holistic program or something, So it's all of these things. It's an opportunity where people can start creating. And once the mindset changes, this happened. This lady was supposed to, go bankrupt last year. This was before COVID. Last year, she was telling me, oh, I got to go bankrupt and I'm not going to survive and all that. And I told her, you find money and meet me in Kuala Lumpur. And she did. We met up. And now, she's in my community. Now she's making, this is 25K, she said, but it's now like 26K already and beyond, 7K. I'm just sharing some WhatsApp sales there. This is me being interviewed by the Cafe Contempa, the Tampa City Council. And we also do this, yeah? Not forgetting the people who are really without any knowledge, no education, no access to internet. Let's not forget about them as well. That's how we can create impact, And it's all the more that all of us here who are privileged to have the internet platform, we can make friends, we can connect, and find ways where you can actually use this amazing technology for us to be able to network with one another. And after this, 3 a.m., I am having sorry, I just shared this. I am having a networking event in LA, which is like, you know, the America's Next Top Model is gonna be there, and then we have a networking event, and I'm collaborating with people in the US to do mixes as well, so that we all can collaborate, do business together, grow our incomes together, and do good at the same time. So that's how we can start creating positive changes in the world. The world is actually on reboot. 2020 is a reboot. We know that things that happened in the past, some of them does not work and does not really add value in our lives, but we can start making the change right now. So whatever changes that you make right now, that is something that's going to sustain you for the next 30 years. And it's also important to know and be ready to keep your business model resilient, so that besides pandemic, what else do you foresee is going to come? You see through the demographics, there's going to be political changes, there's going to be climate changes, there's going to be probably not only economic refugees, there's going to not only war refugees, that could be increase in the climatic refugees. Are we ready for that? Can our business serve that? Can our business go through that kind of transformation, that if any other crisis happens, are you ready? So this is the time for us to really connect with each other throughout the globe. Don't work alone. Don't be sad alone. Don't be depressed alone and say, oh, everything is so bad and nobody loves me, everybody hates me, that kind of thing. People love you. We just need to go back to humanity. We need to go back to love. That is how we can really, really work together. And I'm very excited to be able to be here today and share with all of you. Yes. I'm going to globetrotting. Yeah, Zoom through COVID. That's right. Been in 5 continents except Antarctica, South America. You will, Saiful, you'll go there. They open Antarctica. You will lead the Antarctica team. Yes, COVID helps me to relax more and less jet lag. Yeah, exactly. You can do your travels, you can conduct training, you can do public speaking engagements, and you still get to sleep in your own bed, right? Exactly. Okay. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much. And I'll pass on the next session to Elmi to lead.
Thank you, Sis Mursida. I was just love your model actually. So in fact, that was one of the things that we actually plan to start at the Batam site as well for the local community project. So I actually have been knowing you for I think 3 years, right? Since the first time we met at the start at the top workshop. That's how actually the story of this regional connect started. So had to thank to you. So that's how the snowball going on until this year. Then we have this regional connect 2020. So we will discuss a bit deeper later after one more panelist from Indonesia, Batam. So we will welcome Mr. Alpano Briandes, the founder of Ruang Urban Indonesia, to share a bit how we can do more collaboration among these Asian countries. So the time is yours, Mr. Alpano. Can you unmute yourself? Huh? Hello? Hello? Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Pak Alpano.
Okay, is it possible now to see?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Let me make it a white screen first. Okay. All set, yeah? Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet new friends and network here. I'd like to thank you and others on the Regional Connect 2020 ASEAN Community team for putting us together on Saturday great webinar today. Bu Elmi, thanks for inviting me. It is my pleasure and privilege to speak and share what we have done, especially about Ruby. First of all, I'd like to introduce about myself. My name is Alpano Briandes. I originally from Batam Island. I was born in Batam. My background is the urban planner, urban regional planner. Currently, I'm working as a practitioner and also academic. I'm a lecturer at Department of Architecture at the University of Riau, Kepulauan, and also at the same time, I also as an entrepreneur. I'm a director at the planning consulting and architecture consulting. And this NGO called RUBI, means Ruang Urbanisasi. So my focus more interested about the urbanism actually and architect. So I used to work in Malaysia. Puan Mursidah, I used to work in Malaysia. I used to do research in Kampung Baru, Malaysia. Maybe you know Kampung Baru, close to KLCC Tower. So it is very interesting research about Kampung Baru. Maybe a bit sharing about the case. So Kampung Baru is more interesting about the community development or community engagement case study. Example, a good case, how involve community to development. So Kampung Baru is a Malay enclave located in the heart of Kuala Lumpur. Has been the site of a redevelopment struggle for more than 4 decades. Yeah, I think 4 decades. The government difficult to do redevelopment project at Kampung Baru due to the landowner have refused to relinquish their land titles out of concern for loss of Malay ownership and right and culture. So the village maintained into many small plots with multiple owners has completed the situation. So that time is very struggle to do research there, but we have to come up with a new strategy. So we conclude we work together close with the Perbadanan Pembangunan Kampung Baru (PKB). We formulate new strategy how to involve community. So my strategy, they have supposed to be estate manager for their own village. So they have to planning their own village. So yeah, that's about me. Currently, I'm also working as the CEO for Yayasan Ruang Urban Indonesia, RUBI in English means Indonesian Urban Space Foundation. RUBI was established last year on August 2019. So it is a non-profit organization as a center for urban and regional studies in Batu City. So RUBI present to address the urban issues through a better planning process, and also we also empowering the citizen into participation and collective action, as well as being a facilitator between the government and its citizens to make an inclusive decision about their city plan in order to improve quality of the urban environment. So our focus work on the aspect of housing and settlement, transportation, public open space, industry, environment, pedestrian, and urban workers' rights. Actually, we have a lot of programs. We have planned many programs due to the COVID. So many of programs we do same like Bu Elmi do, mostly the webinar with many practitioner association like Architect Association, with the university, and also with many other institutions that involve related to the urban planning. So our home base in Batam City is very close to Singapore. Batam is an island city in Indonesia, strategically located in the Malacca Strait and close to Singapore and Johor. Batam gains its status as a special economic zone, which has made its growth rapid and categorized as one of fastest growing city in the world in terms of population, according to US-based consultancy Demographia and published on The Guardian. I think this is online news, yeah, The Guardian in UK, based in UK. In 2015, the news was published. So because of this, as a result, carrying capacity and land shortage of Batam has become the main concern, followed with the issue of the clean water supply availability, high amount of domestic waste, and land management, including coastal reclamation activities. So these all the challenges in Batam on the development. So that's why we focus to establish this NGO. Our aims is to be an organization in regional fields, and our aims also identifying and connecting the urban elements to improve the image of the city, so that safe, comfortable, productive, and sustainable urban space in accordance with the vision and mission of the city will be achieved. So the vision of the Batam to become Batam menjadi bandar dunia madani. So we try to achieve that vision. And our aims also to collaborate with the government, private sector, professional associations, and urban communities in order to be a facilitator between them and their urban space, and also educating the people in the process of regional and city planning, facilitating citizen participation and collective action in regional city planning activities, empowering people to actively participate in improving the quality of the urban environment, also assisting communities in making wise and inclusive decisions about their urban planning. This is most important. And also at the last aim is, of course, creating opportunities for collaboration with you all guys. Maybe we can collaborate together, obtaining source of information and funding for the effectiveness of research, development, and community empowerment activities in the urban and regional fields. So we believe that planning is an investment activity to make change to conditions that are better than the present. So the participatory development planning itself have a functions to improve community welfare, to develop a common visions and mission in one area, and also alleviate poverty, reduce contention over basic needs, develop community ideas, accommodating all existing problems, and consider all components and elements of development in the regions. I think structurally, poverty is still often found around us, among others, marked by social inequality. This occurs because, on the one hand, there is a group of people who are unable to meet their needs and do not have access to key resources. And on the other hand, there is a group of elites who have over control of various keys or resources. So community-based development that prioritizes community participation is absolutely necessary, because it is an integral part of effort to improve their access to key resources. And in the end, accelerated social mobility, which leads to the improvement of the social structure. So the basic concept is to invite and place the community as the subject and actor in determining policies through a comprehensive approach from a social, economic, and environmental perspective. A plan is declared successful when the planning process is carried out in a participatory manner by all components of the community, and the output is a root in the life order of the community. In other words, I think it is recognized as a part of the social life process in the region. So community participation as a variable that needs to be considered as the which has some indicator. First, contribution. Second is support. Third is the commitment. Fourth is the cooperation, and fifth, expertise. So community-based development is known as the development concept that opens more space for the community to be involved in the development process so that development can refer to the needs by utilizing existing potential for improving the quality of life the community. Currently, the problems are related to space utilization. The cause of this population growth with an uneven distributions and a significant level of urbanization from rural to urban areas that can threaten urban spatial planning. So we need a participatory urban spatial structure that can accommodate the various interests of urban communities. One of them is a community-based urban planning. So community-based urban planning is a process of compiling a city infrastructure plan based on community activities through the form community. So community-based planning areas are very specific and of course have a long-term, medium term and short-term reach. So the community-based planning needs to pay attention together with the aim that community-based planning could improve the quality of people's life with assessment indicators such as increased productivity, good health, a sustainable environment definitely, and welfare and happiness of residents. So community-based planning will produce a development plan that consider community development through the community, which contains a picture of the expected future, both from physical and non-physical aspect. So in order to build a community-based system, so we encourage the local government in Batam. We have two institutional body of governments, Batam Industrial Free Zone Authority and also the Batam City Government, to strive to identify and map each community in Batam in order to make it easier for the government to answer all community needs in providing facilities and infrastructure for activities and urban space for expressions. So with the existence of community-based planning, the enthusiasm of citizens who are active in communities, both formal and informal communities, were and supported by adequate infrastructure, so as to create a sense of security and comfort for user of the facility provide for the community. So therefore, we encourage the need for a comprehensive community-based planning study in Batam as a basis of reference for the government, maybe specifically for BIFZA in the preparation process for Batam city planning. So that's why we now encourage and try to collaborate with BIFZA, especially due to they have also have same planning with us to identify the community based in Batam to involve in planning so that the government can provide the infrastructure for the community. I think that's all, Elmi, that we can share what we have done, what we have been doing now on the process. We need to support. We try to make it Batam more comfortable to live, to stay, to make it Batam as to achieve the vision as the Bandar Dunia Madani. So mostly, Ruby more closely work with the communities, especially with the people, to collaborate, to involve them, to participate into the planning process to make it more better planning master plan product. Thank you, Welmi. That's all I can share this.
Yes, thank you, Albano, for sharing. So I will do a quick recap for the three panelists. And okay, can Pak Albano close the slide first? Okay. Yep. All right. So this is the whole idea. This panel is actually all about. That's why we are inviting one, Mr. Farhan, is more on the world of startup as well right now related to technology, and we have Sis Moshida also, who are working very deeply in the social and the society, the grassroots community. And Pak Pono do a lot with the urban, with the housing, with the society building. So what we try to tie up together is actually that what we try to show through this panel is actually there's a lot of opportunity that we can explore, just even only within this Batam, Singapore, and Malaysia nearby, right? Like Johor site only. Just these three only, we have a lot of opportunity. We can work deeper down more and create more. A business opportunity or the social opportunity connection. So because of the limited timing, I will just ask a very need a very few lines from each speaker as a closing for this session, and just one question. Is there any idea that maybe a very simple idea that each panelist can share what we could do more within these three countries, especially if they say we don't talk too far first about the Java side of it. We are talking about the Batam, Johor, and Singapore. Just a few lines as a closing for this session. Then we will have a deeper discussion for another time. Okay, let's go, Pak Farhan. You can unmute yourself, maybe.
Yeah, thank you, Ibu Elmi. Yeah, I always get the difficult questions, but yeah, I think what some people are already doing is, and I think that's good, creating, I would say, small business forums or business discussions among friends in business in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. I think that's a good start with having different topics. But I think the challenge would be, how do we transfer the fireside chats ataupun like webinar like this? How do we do business matching after that? I think that is probably how to think of the next step. So but I think the good start is to have more platforms like this to foster regional connections. I hope I answered the question.
Okay, thank you. This is the whole idea actually why we are initiating. We were initiating the service point center for the regional connect that's starting from Batam. That we do know that when we are really want to go into the business collaboration, of course a lot of aspect will be involved. It is not just merely do the conversation through online. Of course, a lot of technical things on the ground that maybe need each other help, right? Like they say those Singaporean will like come to Batam. Of course, they will need the ground people connection in the Batam side. So this is the part that we think that we will go to the next step. We will go to that part to make it more concrete that what the kind of collaboration that we really can form up in the near future. Yeah, so maybe hope that could be another tie-up after this with whatever you are doing, and we will certainly will updating as well the upcoming project that we are working on, which is actually you are going to open a lot of opportunity for everyone that can come to be part of it later on. So I will thank you so much, Mr. Farhan. I was so glad that you are sharing whatever you have been done. That was fantastic. That was awesome. Actually, that one of our university are quite interested on you as well. I think we will sit down later on for some discussion. So just now the University Ibn Sina, they have the I think there's they have a University of Technique as well, Universitas Teknik. They have a Fakultas Teknik, I'm not wrong. So they have a kind of the digital things curriculum as well. So maybe somehow we can tie up some things later on as well. Okay, then I will proceed to Sis Moshida. Maybe you can share a few lines as a closing remark for this session.
Okay, okay, thanks, Elmi. My closing will be a reminder that every time we have a webinar like this, let's keep connections going and also find out about each other's businesses. Yeah, I think that is very, very important. Not just not just to sell or me, but ask and say, I would appreciate a certain support in certain area. If they know something or know someone who can connect you, or they themselves, yes, I would like to help you, that would also get started, get the ball rolling. Yeah? And always when we arrange meetups after a webinar like this, think in a space of, how can I add value to that person? How can I support that person? If you cannot be supporting it through your product or service, perhaps someone that you know would be able to support. And I'd like to post also one of my contact point that I use. It's a joinhub.com. It is a application that came out of LinkedIn as well to actually connect people together. I'll post my JoinHub account there, and that is something that I also use to further connect people. That means once I know who's in my community and they say, oh, I want to meet more social impact investors, I will need more entrepreneurs, I need more funding, and I would know who also to be able to support. This is something that we can keep the ball rolling, and this kind of platforms, this sharing is very important for us to know what everyone is doing, because just from this session alone, I learned what other people like Pak Alpano and Cik Farhan, what you were sharing just now. At least I have a better idea of what is available out there. And also through my, the people that I work with, business owners, they're always looking out for, how can I put a social impact element in my business? So as long as I know who people out there are already doing, I can say, why don't you get connected to Pak Alpano in Batam that way, something like that, or in Cik Farhan, for something like that. So this is where we all can really facilitate this business connections together. That's what I feel. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Sis Mushida. So because I look into the people when I meet, this is how I know that Pak Alpano what is doing, Pak Farhan was doing what you were doing, right? It's not to kepo, but right? Because when we are talking about the connecting resources, right? Because we have to know that, oh yeah, what is these people have the resources, right? So we can know how to tie up the things. If you don't know how we know that, right? So how we know to tie up, you don't know the people background or anything, what expert, what resources they have. So this is the whole idea actually of the this regional connect meetup. So that's why I try to understand, oh yeah, what the resources that future of us have it in the people, in the team, in the volunteer teams, and what the Pak Alpano team have the resources. Then maybe some way, somehow, we can tie up when we are talking about that we are building a society project all together. Also, that will be very beneficial, all those kind of information. So that's all. So whatever you have been doing actually at Malaysia side is actually quite similar that we will be starting doing at Batam soon. Yeah. So certainly we are going to tie up somewhere somehow one day soon. Yeah. Yeah. So the view line from thank you so much, Sis Mushida. So the view line from Pak Alpano as a closing remark, then maybe to close this session.
Yeah, I think I hope this pandemic will be end soon, so we can kopi darat. Kopi darat means we can meet each other directly. So actually, we have a lot of programs before pandemic. Collaborate with many institutions, educations. I used to work with the Future City Laboratory in Singapore, located at US, and also we also almost have a programs collaboration with UTM to support the Suku Kana in Johor. It's have a connection relation with the Pulau Sekana in Belakang Padang. So they try to we already have planned to visit site and etc. and collaborate with the Karang Taruna Batam to assist us, to accommodate us, and also to facilitate us to that island. So unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it canceled. So I hope it will be end soon, this pandemic, so we can planning and organize new programs. Yeah, that's all I think.
Yeah, thank you so much. The closing remark from Pak Apano, also remark the closing session of this panel, the discussion too. So of course that we will have a lot of discussion coming on in a smaller group, in a more specific group discussion, the topic of the discussion. But certainly we will take this meetup to another level soon, very soon. So we hope we have a very wonderful 2021 soon.